If you are currently renting, I can almost guarantee that you have accidentally done at least one of these 3 mistakes that I'm going to tell you about right now. If you want to learn how to protect yourself, stick around. Now, I know we talk a lot about buying a house and is it a good time to buy a house? And there are rarely times when it's not a good time to buy. But that doesn't mean that everybody's able to buy, right? There are credit issues that need to be worked on. Sometimes you need to save a little bit of money. Sometimes you just feel like you're not ready or you don't know where you want to live. So I understand, and I want to help protect those that are renting out there with these big mistakes that happen that you may not even realize you're making these mistakes. The first thing I want to talk to you about today is landlords that charge too much rent. It happens all the time, and a lot of it is supply and demand. And there are a lot more tenants out there that need a place to live than there are rental properties. So they get a little bit of play there, and not every landlord does this, but some of them do. How do you protect yourself from paying too much rent? So if you haven't used some of the apps that are out there to show you home values and home sales, make sure that you're looking at recently rented properties in your area. I don't often endorse Zillow, but I'm going to tell you real quick how to do this on Zillow.
So we're going to open up our Zillow app here and take a look at some rentals. Now, the first thing you're going to do is start at the top and search for the city that you're looking for. I'm putting in Concord, North Carolina. You can see here on the map, these are rentals. And you can look a little closer as we zoom in. Here are all of the options that are available. Now, I'm going to look at the pictures here. And one of the first things I realize is this is a condo. And I'm looking for houses, or if this is a townhome. So I'm going to click the filters tab in the upper right hand corner, and I'm going to scroll down to home type and uncheck townhome and condos apartments. Now these are going to give us houses that are for rent so that we can compare one house to another. So I first look at the photos of the house and make sure that it's a similar property in similar condition. This one's been renovated. And then once I look at that, I look at the stats of the home. $1,645 a month for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I look at the square footage. I look at how long it's been on the market. Just review all of that information. You can look at the price history. You can see on here that it looks like they took it off the market in 2021, renovated it, and then rented it out for a higher price. So going back to our map, we have other options we can look at. So I'm looking at these homes here to check the same condition, right? Are they in similar condition? Now this one looks like a great big house, but it's a 2-bed, 1-bath. And if you look at the description, it says this listing is for the upstairs unit. So be careful with things like that. This one does say at the bottom, utilities and Wi-Fi are built into price. So that's going to come with the home, which is pretty cool. And then you can flip around on the map in the area you're searching in and just look to see if there are any other pictures or anything. This one doesn't have any other pictures. It's 1,100 square feet, 2-bed, 1-bath. And you can look at all the details there. So this helps you when reviewing properties to decide what has rented around that area and how much did it rent for, and where is your rent in line with that, so that you can help negotiate deals. Or if a home has been sitting on the market longer, you can sometimes negotiate a little bit off the rent. Now this property here, it's 1,200 square feet. I felt like that was overpriced even for condition. So if you zoom out on your map, you can look at other areas as well. You can look at other cities, zip codes, neighborhoods, whatever you want to search for, it'll show up. This neighborhood here has a lot of $2,000 rentals, or close to $2,000. So that's kind of a more expensive area for what you can get.
This is a great way for you to see comparable rental amounts in your area and to also be able to determine if you would be charged or paying too much for your rent. Age does matter in real estate. So if it's more than a year old, it's an outdated price. you really need to be looking at what is currently going on in the market. It might be nice that that house rented for $1,100 6 years ago, but it may not be valid or even realistic for you to expect that now. So that's the first thing that I recommend doing, is making sure you're paying the right amount. You can negotiate rents often. Don't be afraid to negotiate on your own behalf. It is just like going to the doctor and advocating for yourself. You don't feel like something's right, or you don't want to take a medication, or maybe you don't think that that's the actual answer of what's wrong with you. Advocate, right? Be your own advocate and get out there and tell these landlords, play around with the numbers a little bit. Maybe if they're offering $1,450 in rent, you could offer $1,400 and see if you can't get a deal that way. Now, high demand properties are absolutely not going to have room for negotiation. It is a supply and demand issue in those cases. And unfortunately, why would they give you $1,400 when this guy down here is willing to pay $1,450, right? So be realistic with that. All right, so let's talk about number 2. This one is huge. Mismanaging your security deposit. Yeah, we're gonna dig into this. Landlords don't always know, because they're private landlords, they don't always realize that you have rights as a tenant. Every state has their own set of rules, and in North Carolina, you need to be notified within 30 days of making your security deposit at what bank is your security deposit being held at. Yeah, they actually need to tell you legally in writing. So if you're not getting that letter on where your money is being held, not that you can access it, but just where it's being located, that's definitely a red flag, and I would be asking your landlord where that is. The next piece to this is your landlord cannot commingle funds, which basically means he can't just use the money for anything he wishes to use it for, or she wishes to use it for. They can't go out and buy new appliances for the house or renovate the house. That security deposit is being held on your behalf for the event of the terms of your lease. So your lease really needs to be in writing. It needs to be very clear what happens to your lease if you were to break it, or if you were to have damage that happened to the home after you left. What happens to your security deposit? Usually, security deposits are meant to be held for damage to the property after you've moved out. And not all leases even say anything about if a security deposit can be held because you've broken your lease. There's usually a termination clause, and if it doesn't mention your security deposit, then there's nothing on that, right? So they can't hold your security deposit automatically just because you've broken your lease. Whatever your termination clause says in your lease is what's going to go. So some of them do mention that, and it's going to be very important for you to read the verbiage in your lease, because I'm not an attorney, I can't advise you on that. And I'm not a property manager. That's not my area of expertise, but I can tell you these pitfalls are very real out there in this world. And as someone who manages my own properties, I've had to protect myself and want to be able to tell renters what their rights are. So if you have questions about your security deposit, refer to your lease, contact the property manager that's handling your lease, or an attorney in real estate in your area that can guide you on what your lease specifically says. All right, so third, let's talk about what happens when repairs don't get done in a timely manner, because this is the third biggest pitfall, and I hear it all the time. Well, I'm not going to pay my rent until they fix my HVAC system. And I am like, pump the brakes, because that is not the way to go. There are regulations and ways that this needs to be handled. You can't just stop paying your rent because something hasn't been fixed. So the number one myth out there is my air conditioning is not working, so therefore I can withhold my rent. People, air conditioning is considered a luxury in the housing world, even in the South, even where it's 900% humidity. Here, a lot in the summer. But you can't just withhold your rent. You have an obligation to follow the terms of your lease. And if that says that you can withhold your rent for repairs not being done, then of course you could do so. But most of the time, the landlord's not going to put that in there because they don't want you to withhold your lease just because the dishwasher's not working. So here's what I'm going to recommend that you do. Read your lease, first of all. I hope that you read it before you signed it. But if you did not read it before you signed it, go back and read it now and follow the rules. If it says that you can withhold rent, call me, because I'd be shocked, first of all, if anybody has that in their lease. Most often, what you're going to need to do is contact an attorney and make arrangements to have your rent held in escrow. Basically, a letter is sent to your landlord that says, hey, this is notifying you that I've paid my rent to an attorney and they're going to hold it until the garbage disposal is fixed or the toilet is operating properly. They need to be able to fix those items for you and should be fixing those items for you. But each item falls into a different category of need versus want kind of situation, right? I need to have heat in my house to be able to stay warm in the winter. That's required, but I don't need to have air conditioning to survive. So they are going to have expectations on what's repaired, what's not repaired. An attorney is the best way to walk you through that. A lot of times, if you don't know anybody locally, your local real estate agent can help you find one. We can help you find one if you need somebody. We've got a network of agents all across the country. They work with real estate attorneys every single day, and they know who's willing and able to help you in the best possible way. So these are the 3 biggest pitfalls. I hope this has been helpful to you as a renter. If you are considering buying a house and you're just stuck in that rental cycle right now, we understand, we get it. Give us a call. We will put you in touch with the people that can help you prepare to buy your house and even give you the resources to help with down payment and other items. Don't forget to check out our other videos where we talk about affordable housing and how people can get into homes when they don't have a lot of money to put down. There are ways to help you. If you need any help in the North Carolina, Charlotte region, or anywhere in the US, reach out to us. Give Jeff and I a call. Shoot a comment down below. Tell us what your pitfalls have been in renting. We would love to hear from you.